Hi, welcome to another episode of Steve Bakes. Today I'm going to talk about equipment and what equipment you could use to bake your sourdough. Look, you could have heaps of fancy equipment, but I'll just show you what I've got and maybe you can make adjustments to what you've got. So first of all, the first thing I have really which is useful are scales. For me, weighing out flour is really important. Say if you use 500 grams of flour, it's really accurate to see this. If you don't have scales, you can use cups. So 500 grams of flour is about 4 cups of flour. Well, it's not about, it is. So that's really good. The other thing I have is my mixing bowls. So generally I'd load my dry ingredients into this one first, then do my wet ingredients in here, so my sourdough starter and my water. Then I'd mix this into here, and this would be my final mixing bowl. So the other thing I use is obviously a water jug, so I can measure out my level of water. But generally what I still do anyway is weigh it and then fill it, then so I get accurate measurement, because it's sometimes hard to get these lines accurately. A dough scraper is also useful when you scrape it out of the bowl or if you're on the ground working it. I have this great little Norwex lid here. So this is really good for when you're going to prove your dough for the first time when you rise it. So after you've kneaded your dough in here, you just put this on top and you just let it sit for however long you need to. So these are really good, and you know they're quite easy to clean, and then they just stick on the side of the fridge as well when you're done. So moving down next, another important thing to have is baking paper. It's really handy, a nice nice baking paper. You can always use Glad, but it's quite expensive, but I get a cheaper brand from Pak'nSave. That's all good. Now, you're probably wondering what these are. These are my Banneton baskets. So these are for shaping the dough. So you don't bake in these, of course, so this is what you shape your dough in. So I have a long one here. I have another shorter one in the fridge at the moment proving. I have this round one here as well, and this one here. So these baskets can be bought from most kitchen places. Like in Wellington, it'd be like More Wilson's or Stephen's Kitchen. You can look on Trade Me, eBay. They're basically called bread-proofing baskets. But if you don't have one, that's fine. What you can do is just get another mixing bowl or a big bowl. Then what you do, you just grab a tea towel, you lay it in like that. Lay it like that, put some flour in here, then put your dough in, that's for your second proof, then you just cover it up. So that's the other way you can do it. Right, so when we come to baking, I do either one or two things. If I'm doing one of these type loaves from this one, I'd use the Dutch oven. So the Dutch oven for me is the cast iron pot here. So this was bought from Briscoe's for about maybe 80 bucks. Like it's not just for baking bread, but we also do ramen and curries in here. It's so useful. So generally I put the dough onto some baking paper and then drop this in. So this is already quite hot. So when you use this, you'd ideally want to preheat your oven to 230 degrees and have this in the oven while it's preheating without the lid on. So when you go to bake it, you just put the lid on, obviously handle it with care, then put it in the oven. The other method, if I'm using like a longer one, if I'm doing 2 loaves at once, I'll just use a baking tray. So something like this, put some baking paper down, put my loaves on it, and then I have another tray underneath which I fill up with about a cup of boiling water to create some steam. So before you go bake, it's good to cut lines into your bread or your dough so it opens up when it's rising, how you get the nice line. So I just use a knife here I got from a barber, or you can use a sharp knife, it's up to you. But they are basically the tools or the equipment I use to bake bread with. If you don't have all this, that's okay, just use what you got. You know, if you don't have these baskets and you don't have a big enough bowl, try using a big saucepan or a big crock pot that you can prove your bread in. All you're doing is giving it shape and somewhere to sit nice and warm. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you later.